Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Yes, I have taken a bit of a break, a unwanted break actually. I will be going into that today a bit. I'm doing fine. The last few days have been quite difficult, but I'm doing fine again. I had a bunch of videos in pre-production. Sadly, I wasn't capable of releasing those on time. They have been released throughout the last few days. You can go watch them. As to my whereabouts, there is a bit of a story here. So, right after I ended the last video where I was quite positive about everything, one of my friends knocked at my door and asked me for money. Money I owed him, rightfully. It's all a deal that we had made up. I gave him that money, but I was quite pissed at him because he was never asking me how I was or anything like that. I shut the door in his face, and he didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. The day after, later that day, I went to the club with one of my friends, and we were actually just like vibing and working on like relationships and whatever. In that club, I had a pretty bad encounter with a older man. I will not go into details, but it wasn't great. It wasn't something super terrible, but it wasn't great. That encounter made me quite emotionally upset, let's say it like that. Which led to me having more or less a breakdown and cutting myself off from a bunch of my online friends because I just needed a break from the internet. I think it's good to have breaks now and again, not forever usually, because that isn't great for your mental health or their mental health if you're very good friends with them. Sadly, I wasn't in the right state of mind at that time, so I didn't heed my own advice. This would eventually lead to Sanek, the friend that I was talking about earlier, who asked me for money, freaking out because I just disappeared and calling the police. The police then took me to the hospital for a mental evaluation where they basically said, "Oh yeah, you're fine, go back home." It was mostly a misunderstanding, but it stressed me out to a unhealthy degree, which is why I felt not capable of making more videos on this YouTube channel. Nowadays, it's been getting better. This was exactly a week ago. Right about now, like a week ago about now, I would be coming home, and I would finally be able to de-stress. But now that I've been home a week, I think it's a good time to just start playing Minecraft again. I've been really wanting to play again. So I guess that's what we're gonna do today. Right. What are my plans here? I think if I build a wall right here, I could do that pretty well. Yeah. Let's do that. Oh, it's a pine wood, isn't it? Okay, I'm not taking pine wood. Generally though, I have not had the... Oh, sorry. I have not had the greatest of times the last few weeks? Question mark? Like, last 1 or 2 weeks weren't the greatest times. So I'm not particularly overjoyed. I just feel like I'm kind of recovering right now, so I'm doing fine. It's just, I'm not doing great. Okay, I've run out of wood. Let's grab some more. Another thing that happened while I was gone is I was playing tabletop in the regular tabletop store. With a guy I met on the Discord who wasn't that great of a guy either. He was quite annoying. He was the typical like tabletop gatekeepy guy. Later on I learned that that guy was also the local idiot who nobody likes playing with because of that exact reason. I will not make that same mistake again. I'll not play with this guy again. Yeah, mainly what happened was he was asking in the Discord to play 40k, and I said, hey, yeah, I can play 40k, I'm kind of looking to play 40k, actually. So, we agreed on a time, and we met in the local tabletop store. he and I were starting to play. I asked him to bring Necrons. He was very pissed about that already. He would have liked to play Thousand Suns. I brought my Imperial Fists. He saw my Imperial Fists and started complaining about how poorly they were painted. I'm going to put up some images here about what my Imperial Fists look like. I don't think they're too poorly painted, sure. I'm no fucking Golden Demon winner, but they look okay, I think. And then we were going to play, and he immediately made a few very transphobic remarks, which I just didn't go into because I really did not want to deal with that bullshit right now. And then eventually he just got so really, really annoying that I just said after like round 4 or whatever, nah man, I'd rather go home right now. So we cancelled the game. He offered to continue another day. I said, nah, I'm already set for the next few weeks, which is true. I didn't lie there. On Tuesday I'll have a game with my usual guy, who is much more friendly than this dude. I talked to that guy actually, and he said, yeah, that's the guy that nobody likes playing with in this store. So I just want to play with that guy anymore. He also like kept complaining about me not having dice or whatever, until I actually bought them. He was a bit of an older guy as well, like 40, like I would say mid 30s, early 40s, something like that. Definitely way out of my age range. To be fair, I'm still quite young. I'm actually relatively young for the age range of people that play 40k in my area. I guess the other guy that I'm playing with is also relatively young for the age range. He's a few years older than me, but still a lot younger than the average in that store at least. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's just a bit of an interesting fact. I think I could do with like a staircase right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's do 6. That way we have like this little window area with this corridor. I do intend on building the usuals. If you don't know, I like building specific things in Minecraft worlds, which has kind of become an inside joke. My friends always hate when I play with them on a server and I start building the exact same building over and over again. Every Minecraft playthrough I play with, it's the classic U house. The U house is a thing I came up with a while ago. I guess I should probably explain the entire history. Playing Minecraft properly and in multiplayer with friends is something I've been doing for years now. Back before the pandemic, I played with one of my friends who was playing on the Switch. I was playing on my phone back then. And we played a few weeks, but then kind of stopped. Then we always had like these little phases of playing Minecraft, one of them more successful than the others, and then it started out with me making like country names or Minecraft worlds or whatever, and because I'm a fucking history nerd, that's why. And that kind of developed into a multiplayer server thing where eventually we would have a very big multiplayer server where like 10 or 20 people were online at one time. And that multiplayer server would really... No. And that multiplayer server was just really, really extensive to play on. It was a great time, actually. The problem is that we spread out really, really far. There was... We issued lands to specific people around the map, so North would get this part of the map, other people would get this part, and the idea was that we have enough place to develop and create our own like little Minecraft base or whatever. The problem is that basically meant that when you were playing, you were looking out on the world and you didn't see anybody. You might as well be playing single player, right? It would be really cool if you explored the world and you find houses here, bases there, underground tunnel systems that you've never seen before. But apart from that, it wasn't really that fun. And because it was only in quotation marks 10 or 20 players, this was on the Bedrock edition, by the way. This was all within Bedrock limits. You really barely had an impact on the world as a collective. I did build one major house. I'm gonna try putting that up right here. Which I called the Castle Solitude, based originally around. The name is based on the Castle Solitude in Stuttgart, which doesn't look like that at all. It looks more like the new castle in Stuttgart, which is more accurate, although it's completely made of wood. Which is very, 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 let's say, bad for when lightning strikes. Yeah, and this exact house would become the baseline for every house I would build in the future. Where in every Minecraft project I was playing, it was either that house or one of the houses I'm building right now, the little craftsman houses, half-timbered houses. Because those are relatively easy and look pretty good. And then eventually this server also died. Originally I was just kind of planning on stopping to play Minecraft actively, but at some point my Minecraft server grew, or my Discord server grew to a point where I was like, okay, now we can actually like afford buying a server and just like playing a bit. And we had a Minecraft server on the Bedrock Edition again, basically a repeat of the first one, except this time we didn't issue each other orders on where to live. We just grouped up in one small little town. And that small little town had a organic community that was absolutely amazing. And it lasted for like a month or two. It was a pretty long-lived Minecraft server for like 2-week phases, if that makes any sense. And I just end up missing that server a lot. Because having all my friends play on that Minecraft server was amazing. I might make a video on that because we have an archive I made in the Imperial Palace, which is a very long historical account, I guess. I guess I could make an historical account video, because that would actually be kind of interesting. Where I managed to... Originally it was all in Sonic's basement, but we relocated that all to the Imperial Palace's library, because at some point we had a democracy where I kept getting voted in as president. We had different organizations that had some degree of power. Sanic was the church, which was backed by the state, while the church also backed the state. We had different secessionist movements. One of them was North declaring himself an independent corporate state, holding claim over all acacia wood. The problem being that acacia wood was one of the least sought after products in the entire world, so his monopoly was basically useless. And then we had... he eventually collapsed in after we pressured him by enforcing tax laws and sending taxmen to him. And he eventually caved in and joined the Democratic Society of Gimano Town, as the city was called. And eventually he would declare himself a like regional king of his own like little country, but still within the bounds of Gimano Town. He tried building a Berlin Wall, and that Berlin Wall collapsed, and there was like an entire like envelope traffic there where I would write newspapers every day to commemorate what happened that day. Writing from a very, very funny perspective as well. And I would just like put that in like a town square, copy that book several times, and then make several different like envelope copies and send them to everybody. It was a very, very fun thing. We had like a very interesting infrastructure as well. I made sure that everybody had paved roads up until up until the border. The border was a thing that became really interesting once David decided to move out of Germana Town. I had a more or less hotel set up for newcomers, so they wouldn't have to stay within the very cramped cityscape of Germana Town and try to build on somebody else's property. And that hotel became known as Rosewood. It was a very big and very cumbersome building. The problem with Rosewood was that at some point David just claimed it he went there and declared it his own property, which was a bit of a doozy because he therefore also declared himself an independent capitalist nation. While I was trying to negotiate, Sanek went ahead and declared me dictator of Germanotown after nobody decided to vote for me. Or rather, nobody decided to vote at all. They all were like, oh yeah, I'm just going to win anyways, why bother voting? So I just became emperor. And I immediately started going full god emperor of mankind and started building like giant monuments, a enormous wall known as Fort Sereno, named after Count Sereno, Count Dooku, which was named after North because North had the nickname of Count Dooku due to him playing chess a lot, and we said he plays like Count Dooku would play. And that wall would become one of the biggest single structures in the entire server, stretching from one end of the world to one end of the city to the other end of the city, crossing a river, basically blocking off any landway to get into the city without going through sea or over a mountain that would be easily defended. And I just felt like that is one of the most beautiful ways that my server could have gone. Eventually people stopped playing and I was more or less the only person still playing. Sanek would hop on now and again, David would hop on now and again, but everybody else was gone and all those memories just stayed there. I tried reviving the server a few times, it's failed miserably every time. One time I tried running it with a mod pack on the Java edition and the mod pack collapsed in on itself before it even started. We had a world bug where my house had a chunk error, which wasn't a physical chunk error, it was a visual chunk error, which didn't disappear no matter what we did. Meanwhile, people crashed constantly due to a VS error, which we couldn't fix even with changing versions of VS and Optifine and whatever. Eventually, I just gave up on the entire project. Doesn't mean I will keep giving up on it forever. If I find people that are willing to play that, maybe Sanek someday. Though Sanek and I are not on the best terms right now. I mean, we are on good terms. It's just that we haven't played a lot in the recent years. He's socially exhausted from doing that to me as well. Yeah. Playing him. Yeah, the entire Minecraft project has a lot of history to it, and I want to keep that history alive. I want, in my best case scenario, if the world really becomes this mega project I'm really working towards right now, I would like to rebuild Germanotown in a 1-to-1 scale in this Minecraft world right here. It's a pipe dream, sure, but I have done things like that before. And the successors to Germanotown were also great. We had Spatial Phenomenon, the actual mod pack, which we only really cancelled because the mod pack became pretty scuffed after removing a few mods and adding more. It was a more or less predecessor version to this mod pack. This is a bit more stripped down because the other one was bloated as hell. I think I've talked about this before, but it's a pretty simple Minecraft technical mod pack I made, based on the whole Galactic Craft thing. It had the entire cloning system already up, and that was when I got the idea for the whole cloning system. I just didn't want to mess around with that much longer. Yeah. What also was kind of funny about that old Minecraft world we had, Germanotown, it has such a deep history, and I managed to preserve so much of it, I can literally go back and just go into that library and read every newspaper I wrote, which isn't every day we played, it's just every day that something notable happened. I at some point stopped writing newspapers once they became irrelevant. But there's some very funny stories there as well. The newspaper I made was very skewed towards me, obviously. I wanted to win votes, and nobody else really wrote newspaper apart from Sanek and maybe North's newspaper were mostly just the word acacia spelled over and over again in different ways. We also had a prison system that I set up with command blocks, or not command blocks, with the Bedrock NPC system. A very scuffed prison system where you would be teleported to a specific block, which was a black stone prison, where you would be set to game mode 2 until somebody bailed you out. We did imprison several people for several different crimes. One of the crimes was a very stupid time where Sanic got a pig on a with a saddle and tried riding that around. But because Sanic has never done that before, he was kind of disappointed with how well that worked, so he decided to simply murder the pig by jumping it off a rail yard. That pig eventually died, and because he just recently gave it a name, I felt very bad for that pig. Sanic didn't feel bad for that pig, though, so I chased him down for the betrayal of killing his own animal. There is still a gravestone in that world with that pork chop and saddle with the name of Odin above it, because he named the pig Odin. And that street became one of the first newcomer building streets in the entire world, known as Odin Street. Odin Street would industrialize very quickly because it would not only become the seat of power for the entire state, but also the industrial powerhouse where a very simple industrial system would be constructed with wage labor. Unironic wage labor as well. I hired Jack to join us in that escapade. He would be paid an iron block per Minecraft day spent there. Which is a pretty good price, to be honest. I mean, Jack was like one of the least wealthy people on the server at the time, considering he played very little and he had a small swamp hut in the middle of nowhere. Oh, well, in the middle of the town, I guess. And Jack was always happy to help, so I paid him to collect all the gravel. Not gravel. I used a clay farm to make bricks because I needed a lot of bricks for a lot of things I was doing. I had a mega project which never finished because the server died before it did, which I needed a lot of bricks, and those bricks I made a gravel to clay converter, which works by turning turning dirt into mud and then drying that mud over dripstones, and there was that dripstone clay would become put into a furnace where it would turn into bricks, and those bricks would be crafted into blocks. Well, very, very long-winded project, very, very inefficient project as well, but it was a very fun project. I hired Jack to do that for me, and Jack would become the local worker. He was like the only one actually working, while everyone else was doing different stuff. Meanwhile, across the street from that factory, I would erect the presidential palace, as it was called. As I was the president, originally the presidential palace was literally just where you voted, and there's a entire voting system inside with a yes or no, with a yes or no sign, and like throwing votes into certain bins. Very, very simple and very, very interesting little machinery. But yeah. Oh shit, it's already 23 minutes. I'll definitely be producing more videos like this. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my little rambling, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!